This game is a scam.
Why does it look so old?
Look, I like it, but this game is gonna fail.
It looks like a
It's too
mobile
niche.
game. You're paying.
Why does
to
it look
test.
so bad
Can I
after
buy
so
max
many
level?
years?
Who would play this?
No one
Where's
wants
the
to
shop?
play
It's
this.
never coming out.
This is a video I've been wanting to make for a while. It's actually kind of like a follow-up to another video I did where I talked about why Kickstarter MMOs. And this one is why indie MMOs. And honestly, I didn't think I'd be making a video like this again so soon, except I've been really disappointed with a lot of AAA games lately. So, why indie MMOs? Well, the answer is kind of simple. Passion. A few times over the last year or so making content for MMOs, I've been struck by this resounding realization. The MMOs that I am most excited about all have tiny budgets, small teams, and indie dreams. They're MMOs promising something old school but trying to do it without even the resources of those old school MMOs. And they're doing it in an increasingly hostile gaming environment. An environment that sees tons and tons of layoffs all the time, an environment where review bombing has become the thing to do, and negativity on basically any game that doesn't seem to fit just right for you is the new norm. But the question always comes up. Why do I like these games? Why do I feel this way about indie games? Why are those the games that make me actually excited for the genre? Why? They look worse than a AAA game. They have fewer systems than a AAA game. They have longer development times than a AAA game. Basically, just in all around, they're going to, in many ways, be worse than a AAA game. So why? Frankly, it's because of games like Throne and Liberty and New World. It's because of games like Elder Scrolls Online and World of Warcraft. Games that may be polished and pretty, they may have systems upon systems stacked on top of each other, but ultimately they serve a singular purpose, and it becomes clearer and clearer the longer the game has been out and the bigger it has grown. They exist to milk profit. Now, I want to be clear here that I'm not saying they exist to make money, because yes, obviously, right? It's more the fact that they exist to continue to do things that extend that profit margin more and more and more, not trying to make the game feel better, but trying to make the game more profitable. Whether it's adding things like a $90 auction house mount, or rebranding your game as an RPG, not because that's what your players wanted you to do, but because you think maybe that will bring in a new audience that isn't aware of the history of your game. The games we have that are coming from people with money right now, with huge budgets to throw at games, have either chosen not to invest in MMOs because they take so long to develop, or they only justify it by slapping on as much brutal monetization as they can, trying to get back that return on investment as soon as possible. And this isn't even new. Going back to the 2000s, you had MMOs getting rushed out the door by publishers like what happened to Vanguard, just trying to make some money because the game was taking too long to make. You had MMOs shipping unfinished and then cratering and getting canceled despite hitting 700,000 or 800,000 peak players, like Age of Conan or Warhammer. Games that lacked a polished endgame, games that's best part of them was the tutorial. Freaking Tortage in Age of Conan. If you played back then, you know exactly what I mean. Developers are being shortchanged on what they wanted to make because MMOs are, well, fucking hard to make. And so that brings us to indie MMOs. And I do want to do a quick PSA here that whether you're Monsters and Memories or Ashes of Creation or Pantheon Rise of the Fallen or Evercraft Online or Brighter Shores or any of these other indie MMOs, one, thank you for trying to make a game for us. Also, what the fuck are you doing? Like, seriously, it's an MMO and that's the first game you want to make? Like, holy shit, y'all. Like you were like, you know what? I want to start climbing some mountains. I think that'd be cool. Let's go hiking a little bit. Instead of picking, the little trail outside your neighborhood, you decided Mount Everest was the fucking play. But no, seriously, thank you, but also why? That shit's hard to do as your first game. I think if I'm honest with myself, if I'm completely honest with the person that I was when I was playing MMOs in the 2000s and the 20s, even through some of the 2010s, I probably would have been a lot more ruthless than I am now. I would have been a lot more harsh on these indie MMOs that don't seem to have some of the things that I come to expect in an MMO because I was so used to playing those polished MMOs. And you can only for so long think like, okay, well, at least it's not shitty monetization before you start missing some of that polish. But something has changed for me, probably over the last 5 to 10 years. And it's all to do with how the landscape of MMOs has just been completely torn apart. The games most recently that really kind of crystallizes for me all kind of happened over the last couple years, starting with New World and how it launched to almost 1 million players, but didn't know what they wanted to be as an MMO and launched an MMO that was half of one thing, a quarter of another, and a quarter of another. Survival, PvE, and PvP. And then how years later they tried to rebrand themselves and basically trick people into rebuying the game because they didn't just want to add new content. Or games like Lost Ark with its predatory monetization, or games like Star Wars The Old Republic, which had one of the worst free-to-play models I've ever seen, which basically just locked you out of content for ages. Games that I used to know and love, like World of Warcraft and EverQuest, adding in WoW tokens, adding in auction house mounts, adding in all different kinds of things. These pay for convenience items that end up being more than just convenience. This slippery slope of monetization. Games like Diablo Immortal actually being a thing.
We have come for you.
Throne and Liberty launching a pretty game that's basically just a simulator to encourage you to buy money, because the way that the game is set up is to get you to use Lucent. And it's crazy to me, so crazy to me, that when people come onto my comment sections or on Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever, and they defend Throne and Liberty, the defense isn't, oh, it's a fun game. No. The defense for Throne and Liberty is, well, I can make money in the game. It's an MMO. We used to complain about games like MMOs like EverQuest feeling like a job. You're now telling me that now the job is paying you and that's why it's good? Like, it's so much has happened in this genre over time that I have found myself going back to basics. I have found myself wanting the basics. I don't need a game to be the most innovative game in the world anymore. I'm not looking for that next step necessarily, because that next step led to so much bad in the genre. I want to see a game that is built by passionate developers that care about the game they are making, and they're not being currently and constantly overridden by people that are trying to make money. Because I do want to stress that the people that are making these games, the people making WoW and EverQuest, the people making games like even Throne and Liberty, all those animators that work so hard to make Throne and Liberty look gorgeous, they care too. They care about what they're making. They wouldn't do it otherwise. It's just that they get overridden a lot, and it sucks. And it sucks for everyone involved. And they are also generally, unfortunately, the people that get laid off, which has happened a lot in this industry over the last couple years. If you have been around gaming at all, you have seen the stories of studios that are closing. You have seen the stories of tons and tons, thousands upon thousands of developers who have worked on some of the best games ever made. Some of the games that were fundamental to your childhood and mine are being laid off, and it sucks. And so that's part of why I am so eager to support indie games. Of course, I support the indie MMOs on this channel, but also on the RPG channel, I try and support indie RPGs as well. That's why I want to go back to basics. That's why indie MMOs. That's why I'm so hyped and excited for Monsters and Memories, for Evercraft Online, for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, for Ashes of Creation, for Brighter Shores. I want these games to succeed. I want these indie developers to have the kind of impact that the MMORPG genre needs, because what we need more than anything else, as far as I am concerned, with my stupid little humble opinion that's very fucking loud because I have a channel, we need passion in gaming. That's what I feel like we need most. Passion to create art, because gaming is art. It's art, it is the confluence of so many artistic elements all coming together. And trying to overly sell that art in pieces is, I think, one of the worst things that's happened to the MMORPG space and the RPG space in general. Anyway, I'm gonna get off my fucking soapbox here, but just wanted to make a video on why indie MMOs.